let's say we have a problem, like again we have a function, and in this function we have one loop for I equal to 1 to n. Then it print I. Now what will be the time complexity of this particular statement? Look, this particular statement will take constant time only, but how long this particular statement will execute? This particular statement will execute for this many times. That means how many times? N times. Clear? So what will be the total time? Total time of this particular problem will be C for how many times? N times C will execute. That means C multiplied by n. Clear? So now what will be the time complexity? That time complexity will be order of n. We always represent the time complexity in the form of number of input. We always ignore all other terms. Clear? We always ignore all other terms like constant and any other things, whatever present in the time complexity. So we always consider only the number of inputs. Now let's say for a particular problem we get let's say we get the time taken by the problem is 3n square plus 4n minus 20. Then what will be the time complexity of this particular problem? Look, here this one is constant, this one is constant, this one is again constant. That means we will remove all those things. Clear? And this time complexity is just an approximation. This time complexity is just an approximation. Now among this term, now here if we remove all this constant, what left with n square plus n. Now here we have two terms of input. One is n square and other one is only n. Both represents the number of input. N represents the number of input. Here is n square, here is n. Now which one will represent the time complexity of this particular problem? Clear? So whatever term is there for number of input, that doesn't matter. We will consider only the dominating term that are present in a particular equation. We consider only the dominating term. Clear? That means the term with highest power. The term that has the highest power, that term will consider for the time complexity approximation. Now look at here, among these two terms, which one is dominating term? N square is the dominating term. N square is the dominating term. So what will be the time complexity of this particular problem? The time complexity of this particular problem will become T of n equal to order of n square. Hope you understood the concept, how we get multiple term of number of inputs, and among those terms which will be represent the time complexity of the problem, that will be the highest dominating term, most dominating term that present in the equation. Clear? So let's take one more example. Let's say we have T of n equal to 100 n to the power 4 plus 20 n to the power 3 minus 70n. Then all the term has the number of input, that means n. So among these term, this is a constant, this one is again a constant, this one again a constant. So we left with n to the power 4 and cube and n. Now among these three n term, which one is the most dominating term? That is n to the power 4. So what will be the time complexity approximation here? Time complexity approximation will become order of n to the power 4. This is how we will find the time complexity for any particular problem. Clear? Next, let's deal with some other problems. For example, we have a function, and within this function we have two loop. Now we have two loop for I equal to 1 to n, and then again for j equal to 1 to n, and then we print a name, let's say SD. So what will be the time complexity of this particular problem? Look, this is one, we have two loop, we have two different loop, first one is for I and the second one is for j. Clear? And then we have this particular statement. Now what will be the time this statement will take? This statement will take a constant time, so it will be c only. Now this statement, how long it will execute? It will execute for the whole iteration, for all the iteration of these two loop. Now the I loop, that means this loop, how long it will execute? It will execute n times. Now for j loop, again it will start from 1 and continue till n, that means this also execute for n times. That means how long this statement will execute? This statement will execute n square times. Clear? So total time what we will get? T of n will be c multiplied by n square. Now as this one is a constant and we have only one term with n, so what will be the time complexity? The time complexity will be order of n square for this particular state, for this particular function where we have two loop. Now next one. Now let's say we have three loop function, and within this function we have three loop for I equal to 1 to n. Again inside this loop I equal to 1 to n, sorry, this one is for j, and again we have another loop k equal to 1 to n, and within this loop we have a print statement, print, let's say again sd. So how long it will take? That means what will be the time complexity of this particular problem? So again this print statement will execute in constant time. That means this print statement will take only a constant time to execute, and then we have three loop. So the first loop, how long it will execute? How many iterations it will complete? It will complete n iteration, that means n time it will execute. The second loop again start from 1 to n, that means it also continue for n times. Next, the third loop for k loop, this again continue its execution for n times. That means how many we have? We have n times n times n, and then constant time. So what will be the time complexity? T of n will be c multiplied by n cube. So what it becomes? It becomes order of n cube. Clear? Hope you understood how we can find the time complexity in case of three loop. Now let's say we have a function where we have two loop. The first loop I equal to 1 to n, and in second loop we have j equal to 1 to n by 2 times, and then we have print. Now what will be the time complexity of this particular problem? Now again, this print statement, again it will take constant time. Now the first loop, that is the loop for I, will execute for 1 to n, that means n iteration, that means n times. The second loop will continue for 1 by 2 or n by 2 times, that means from 1 to n by 2, that means n by 2 times. Now what will be the total time? Total time will become c into n into n by 2, that means c into n square by 2, that means c by 2 into n square. So this one is constant, again constant divided by constant, that means again we will get some constant. So what we will get? Order of n square only. Clear?